LGBT movement's failing.
We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point, that trans is natural.
Please, tell me what's natural about having to wear a wig and tons of eye makeup to try and get people to treat you like a woman.
The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth.
That had to be the most disingenuous analogy that I've ever heard. Show me a human male that's become female spontaneously without spending like $100,000 in the operating room. Even the surgeries don't change their biology. And just because certain animals can do things doesn't mean that humans can do those things. Some animals aren't sexually dimorphic, and the females are just as strong as the males.
It's actually quite in times the opposite, where the females are larger in size than the males. Here in America, that's also the case, but in most normal countries, it's not.
I don't think I've seen an analogy this bad since the croissant analogy.
If trans women aren't women, then is this big croissant not a croissant? Of course it's a croissant. It's made out of butter and dough just like any other croissant.
Croissant and a small croissant are still both croissants. Except that's not what's happening here. You're not a big croissant saying that you're a small one. You're a taco saying, I identify as a pastry.
So before I demolish this delicious and very valid pastry, repeat after me. Big croissants don't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not the case. In fact, that's exactly everyone's problem and why people have so much energy against trans activism. We were all just out here minding our own business, and then a bunch of activists started inserting themselves into everything and saying, you have to treat us how we demand you treat us, or you lose your job. This sort of extortionist behavior is why people are mad at the LGBT crowd.
I'm actually non-binary and use they them pronouns. I definitely could see that. In the best way possible, you look like you'd be non-binary. Slay, they. You realize that isn't a compliment, right?
I guarantee you that when people say that, 99% of the time, it's not meant to be a compliment.
I feel like a lot of the problems that these people have is that they're constantly walking around with a cross, and they're just eagerly waiting for somebody to nail them up.
Because as soon as you see the wacky hair color and the nose ring, they know they're about to deal with a very difficult or annoying person. Or a narcissist. I mean, there are just so many examples of people with narcissistic personality disorder being gassed up by every major corporation for identifying as LGBT. And everyone hates stuff like this. From Today USA, women want to be her, men want to be with her. Dylan Mulvaney, the true definition of beauty and grace. I'm sure there are plenty of trans people out there who mind their own business and go on with their lives. In fact, the right to be able to mind their own business was originally what the LGBT movement was pushing for.
Yeah.
And I think that's an idea that most Americans these days would have no problem supporting.
They do. It's not that they don't have a problem supporting it. They already do support it.
However, the activists, not the normie LGBT people, I'm specifically talking about the activist part of this community, constantly display the most self-centered and entitled behavior.
This video is for straight men and straight men only. I'm sorry, but how in the world could you not like me? Yes, I'm a trans woman.
You're using a filter. I can tell you're using a filter.
Like, what is so different about dating me than a cis woman?
The fact that you have a penis. It's a sexual preference. It's really just that simple.
You can do everything that she can.
Except have children. Did you notice the narcissistic, I'm so great behavior? That's why people don't like you. The guy I was on a date with just found out that I was trans. Why is he just finding out on the date? Why wasn't this disclosed on the dating app? I mean, they were definitely using a dating app.
Oh, man, I love this guy. I got to pull this up because I said this the other day. This is what I said about Creator Clash. I said, as a general rule, if providing someone with certain information would make them less likely to make a purchase or make a decision, withholding that information is unethical. Also, the absence of information is the same as a lie because in both cases, the intent is malicious. These are people that are actively trying to deceive you, and then they guilt you into being angry for being deceived.
Why is it so hard to date straight men when you're just a normal trans girl who makes content for the internet? Well, there you go. Stop catfishing people.
Yes! It's like if I was a girl and I dated a guy, I was going out on a date with a guy, and he said he was 6'5", and he was actually 6'1", I would probably not want to date him. That would be a really big red flag because he's a liar.
I mean, it's crazy how many trans people think it's perfectly fine to start a relationship out by lying by omission.
What are you even really disclosing? What is there to disclose? There's no deception. When you're dating someone, you don't have to disclose every single thing about yourself up front.
Well, there are certain things that you do disclose, right? For example, people should disclose whether they're in a relationship currently, whether they've had kids before, whether they have STDs. These are people that try to like reinvent the rules for life because the rules are not in their favor or they're not working out in their favor. But the world isn't going to reinvent itself because you want to. That's not the way the world works.
Considering that the status of your sexuality is a big deal for a relationship, that definitely should be disclosed before you even go on a date. Everyone knows that you aren't disclosing this information right away for a reason.
If you are not disclosing you being trans because you think that somebody will make a decision based on that, you are preying on them sexually. That does not mean that all trans people are sexual predators, but if you are actively not disclosing that to somebody because you're worried they're going to tell you no, you are taking advantage of them.
A trans TikTok influencer who goes by Lily Tino. Well, this person has already been brought up, but now I have a bigger point to make. If you haven't seen any of the content, this type of stuff is what Tino is famous for.
The bottom is from Thailand?
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, sorry, my bad. And the middle one is from India.
Thank you. Just like totally sucks the joy out of this bread tower. Makes me want to immediately like leave because I no longer feel like safe here.
A lot of people, like this waiter, is just trying to do their best. The issue is like this constant fixation on taking what these interactions are and then interpreting them in the worst possible way and then treating people as if that interpretation is what their intent was. And I think that's exhausting.
So Tino is mad because the waiter said sir. Well, it's kind of hard to call you a man when you look like a sir, and Tino knows that people will make this mistake, which is why tons of misgendering videos are on Tino's channel.
I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir.
Just stop. These people are just trying to do their job. They're waiters.
It kind of just hurts a lot to get called sir. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. It hurts more, though, and it's not intentional because it means like this is sir to him.
Everyone knows that you're doing this on purpose. And not just that, but fine. Tino has openly talked about not actually caring about being called sir.
Keep these comments coming because they really don't bother me in the way that you think they bother me, and they boost engagement on my stuff, so keep at it.
So now we know that Tino bullying people is completely about getting attention. But let's go back to that bread video for a second.
Nothing was wrong with bread. I just don't want it anymore.
Sorry about what happened.
It's okay. I would love to pay for the drink, please.
No, the drink is on me too.
I don't know if you guys caught this, but the waiter had an accent, meaning that English is not his first language, so he probably is not all that privy to the pronoun BS. I mean, if there's any indication that he doesn't understand what's going on, it's that he immediately says sir again after being told to say ma'am. And the whole subtext of this is that this guy spends all this time learning English, and then Tino is out here threatening his livelihood over a minor mistake. That's why you got the free drink. It's because he's afraid.
I'm glad he brought this up, because this is the other component to it that I think is also like really selfish, is that when you make videos like this and you put people on blast like this, you put their jobs at risk too. So you're taking a person who's ESL, or maybe not really completely like fully understanding of like your gender ideology, and you're putting their job at risk by bullying their manager or talking about this company or like this restaurant in a bad way.
This person is just making money off of bullying foreigners and using transgenderism as a shield after being abusive, because that's what this is. It's abuse. And abuse seems to be kind of a foundational strategy of trans activists. Tino has a lot of this type of content, as well as stuff that progressively gets creepier.
Made it into Disney World. I don't really know what the deal is with bathrooms. You know, Florida is really conservative. I don't know what the rules are. Trans women are allowed to be in women's bathrooms, but I'm about to go and use the bathroom because I have to.
You're on your phone. You could just look it up on your phone right now. You would find out this information within 3 seconds, but you don't care about the truth. You want to create a scene. You're trying to make a scene at Disney World.
If I get stopped, I get stopped, I guess. But I'm a woman, so I'm going to use the women's bathroom.
There's a whole office of biological males filming in the women's bathroom. And I can't imagine how unnerving it must be for women to have to share this space with people who are obviously biological men.
I want to give an apology to a lot of you guys that, you know, some of you guys Arabs, maybe, Indian, South American, Hispanics, Asian. I don't know why all of us white people keep doing this shit. A bunch of white people going to restaurants and harassing minority ESL service workers for not using the right gender.
Oh, I go where I please. I will continue to go into women's restrooms, women's locker rooms, women's spaces, because I am a woman, whether you like it or not. And there's nothing you can do about it. I go where I please. And so far, nobody's had the guts to even try and stop me.
So you're saying that they're intimidated by you and this is a good thing? So you're going into women's bathrooms and making women afraid and this is somehow good?
Because it's a bunch of women who have like half your strength, and they don't want to risk you being a psycho who will violently beat them if they speak up about you using the women's bathroom. Speaking of borderline predator behavior, Tino loves to go to Disneyland to explain how transgender surgery works with kids in the background and child-friendly metaphors.
Last summer, I got my cake pops removed.
This is so bad. Like, why do you do this? I genuinely wonder if they understand how much damage they're doing and they don't care, or they're just doing it because they're that full of themselves.
This person needs to be put on a watch list.
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important. What it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both?
For those of you who don't know what's going on, this is a Miss Rachel, who is a very popular creator for very young kids. A friend of mine has a 2-year-old, and I caught an episode while he was visiting where she was teaching toddlers how to say no, so that was great. Well, maybe it's annoying to parents, but probably very useful if they ever meet someone like Lily Tino. And I'm not just making allegations here. Tino literally has an OnlyFans account and advertises that account.
Oh, man.
Stuff like this happens over and over again, and this information gets pushed on younger and younger people way before it's age appropriate.
Open for Brave Trails 2025. Whether you're new or returning, get ready for an unforgettable summer in California or Georgia. Brave Trails is the summer camp for LGBTQ+ youth ages 12 to 17, with creative programming, gender-neutral housing, and affirming spaces to be your true self.
Wait, so you're going to put a bunch of boys and girls with cameras in mixed housing? They're going to change and sleep in the same area with an age difference from 12 to 17? You don't see a problem with that? What's funny is that I'm old enough to remember that back in 2020, I made a video about them medically transitioning kids, and I got gaslit like crazy with a bunch of wokies in the comments saying, no, they're just socially transitioning kids. They don't get medical treatment until they're adults. Just 5 years later, medically transitioning kids has been completely normalized.
Estrogen treatment is irreversible and would make Josie sterile. But Josie and her mother never doubted it was the right thing until an unexpected conversation happened one afternoon.
But on the inside, where nobody else can see?
Yeah.
Are you a boy or are you a girl?
Maybe I'm a boy inside and a girl outside.
Really?
Yeah, is that true?
Only you know the answer to that.
Sometimes I think I'm a boy, sort of, but I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Dr. Olson had a decision.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13.
I'm not really sure how these people have it in their head that it's okay to allow a young child to make a permanent decision.
It's all white people. I've actually thought about writing something out for why I think this is happening and why this is so prevalent in white people. I think the reason why is people are afraid to talk about this. I've wanted to start writing and doing, like, if I was no longer able to stream, I would just start writing. You guys might not know this, but like both of my parents, like my dad's written multiple novels as well. You know, he worked in publishing. He was a publishing executive. My mom was also a writer as well. And so like I grew up doing this a lot.
I think when Lily Tino makes a video dressed as Miss Rachel, that's not about educating people. It's about trying to find the next viral trend to build popularity and promote the OnlyFans account.
I really, really agree with pretty much everything he was saying in this video. More people talking about this in an honest and a direct way, I think is something that is very needed.